adopt a child. But if you go to the West, you'll see that a lot of people who have adopted, and they are as good or as bad as heterosexual couples. So the entire idea, let's not even get to adoption and other things. When we are sticking to marriage, just sticking to marriage, let me tell you that we cannot have preferential treatment given to a particular sexuality, whereas the other sexuality is completely left out. And marriage equality is our right, irrespective of what my genitals or my partner's genitals are. It's our right. And as long as two adults are deciding that they want to live together, they want to they want to have the signing authority when one of the partners is dying. They want to have the right to buy. I think you can still take a bank account together, but taking a loan together, it's still a hassle. If they want to do that, it also means a lot of economic rise for India. Why would India deprive itself of this economy? Why would India deprive its citizens of these basic rights to love and to be with the one I love in legal matrimony?
The argument put forth by the centre is that marriage in a country like India is essentially a religious construct. It is sort of solemnized by whichever religion you believe in, and therefore, in a country that is deeply religious conservative, this idea of legalizing same-sex marriage may not fly. A majority might actually resent such a move, and therefore the centre is arguing that same-sex marriage should not be made legal. How would you counter that argument?
I would say that our country is known for its secularism, its diversity and its inclusion. The fact
he was tortured by the Taliban, he says, just for reporting the truth. I was thinking of death every moment. I thought, this is the last day of my life, he says. Last December, 30 Taliban fighters stormed journalist Zabullah Nouri's home in the Afghan city of Talukan. The men beat him over and over with the butt of their rifles, then arrested him, allegedly for publishing anti-Taliban propaganda. I told them I'm a journalist. I report the truth, whether that's against the Taliban or anyone else. But they wouldn't stop, he says. They said, call your mother so she can hear you scream. As the Taliban seized control in the summer of 2021, thousands of terrified families flocked to the Kabul airport, desperate to escape what they knew of the group's barbaric rule. But the Taliban vowed reform, pledging to be more progressive than their last time in power. Instead, the group quickly fell back on its old playbook: rule by fear, repress without mercy. And over the course of just 2 months, the Taliban carried out floggings against more than 180 men, women, and children, according to the UN. Like this one, this secretly recorded video shows a Taliban militant flogging a man in a football stadium. Other accused criminals await their punishment with onlookers in the stands. But those left behind remain hopeful that the international community will hear their pleas, even if raising their voice means risking their lives.
Hello everyone, you're watching News Epicenter with me, Maria Shakil. The debate continues in the Supreme Court before a 5-judge constitution bench over the legal recognition of same-sex marriage. The hearing will resume tomorrow, as the petitioners argue that the LGBTQ community seeks a life of dignity via the institution of marriage as a constitutional right. They also argue that marriage is also a means to help assimilate queer individuals into society and eradicate social stigma. On day one, the Chief Justice of India suggested that for now, the matter should be restricted to the Special Marriage Act and not personal laws. Today, the Chief Justice also highlighted that there is no absolute concept of a man or woman, saying society has moved beyond traditional gender norms. The centre, however, reiterated its stand that the legal validation of same-sex marriage will damage societal values, saying it is much more than a legal contract between two individuals. The centre has also called the demand for same-sex marriage an urban elitist view, claiming that recognizing it means rewriting an entire branch of law. Today, the centre filed a fresh affidavit calling for states to be made a party to the hearing. This move is clearly aimed at boosting the culture argument, as there is political consensus across the country that same-sex marriage hampers traditional values. But here is where the argument of former Attorney General Mukul Rohatgi, who represents the petitioners, gains relevance. He says that the Supreme Court is the final protector of fundamental rights and must lead society towards reform. He says any reform towards equality cannot be stalled if Parliament and society at large is not prepared. So does Mukul Rohatgi have a point when it comes to the role of the Supreme Court? Or is the implementation of such a matter only possible via consensus? This is our top story on News Epicenter.
Only issue with the government is marriage is an institution, it has a sanctity, and it must be backed by law which takes into account our traditions, our people.
So let me now give you an overview of the arguments that are being made by Mukul Rohatgi, who says the Supreme Court should lead the way. Mr. Rohatgi said when the Hindu Code came to Parliament, even at that time the Parliament wasn't ready. Ambedkar in fact quit as law minister when Hindu Code wasn't accepted. The Hindu Code we know today came in a truncated manner. Hindu Widows Remarriage Act came in the 1800s. Society was unprepared in the 1900s. The Supreme Court must push society to acknowledge the LGBT community, is what he's saying, and that the LGBT community is an equal is the need of the hour, is the kind of the reform that is needed. We rely on the prestige and moral authority of the court. Mr. Rohatgi said on the arguments as it was playing in the Supreme Court, he was arguing for same-sex marriage. When the highest court clears the right to marry, that will drive society. And the Supreme Court must understand its role as the final protector of fundamental rights. Are we getting some direction? Where is it all heading? Raghava Vasti is advocate for the petitioner. We have Kaushik Gupta, lawyer and sexuality rights activist. Also Akash Agarwal, he is an LGBTQ activist. Priyanka Tandon is an activist. Deepa Ishwar is an activist as well. I'm going to begin with you, Kaushik Gupta. You know, because there is an interesting point that has been made by the Chief Justice, which has got a lot of people fuming as well. The concept of a male and the concept of a female, how that is not absolute.
Right. You know, we need to understand that while we say that we are Indians, we are still carrying on our head the colonial laws. And the understanding of man and woman is as per the colonial laws. We need to rethink, because actually, if you think about it, what is a man and what is a woman? When we talk about masculine and feminine, these are merely social constructs. And genitalia do not define the gender. And this has already been decided by the Honorable Supreme Court in the case of National Legal Services Authority versus Union of India. So what the Honorable Chief Justice said is something which is already decided by Supreme Court. The Chief Justice only reiterated that.
And the point here is that is the order of nature. Their union will lead to procreation because a biological man and a biological woman is because this entire issue, he says that it is not the law but is a mindset, that is almost like a construct of the society, and there is a need to deconstruct what is normal. Akash, are you one of those who would be saying that the arguments that have been put forth by Mukul Rohatgi senior counsel is that the Supreme Court is the protector here and it can set the direction in which the country can think? You have to unmute yourself, Akash. You have to unmute yourself. Akash, we can't hear you. Yes.
So I absolutely believe that it's very factual that Supreme Court is the only protector we have in the times we live in. And that I say because if you go back and see what was the Section 377's takeaway was, that they said that the history was an apology. I think finally the time has come up to us that we as the citizens of India get the equal rights. And it is not a same-sex marriage issue. It is about equality at large, right to choice. These are my personal fundamental rights which are at stake. And it's not I as an individual, but we as a community who have often been looked down and looked away. You can't keep us as an underclass citizens. Imagine the amount of immigrations we each and every day facing with the youngsters leaving the country. And many of my own friends have left the country in the fear of being recognized here or not, or be accepted by families at large or not, of their decisions to get married or not.
If this is the stigma or the level of fear that is there, and it's palpable, Priyanka, then shouldn't the country be more welcoming, encompassing, compassionate towards same-sex marriage as well? I mean, the society can never be prepared for a transformation of this nature, but it can happen only if there is consensus. Are you one of those who will feel what the law ministry said, that they would want the union territories and the states to become a stakeholder in this entire argument?
I absolutely, thank you. I absolutely agree. As I have mentioned in my earlier debate also yesterday, the marriage, this act, the marriage relation, it is not between the male and female. It is interplayed with a certain aspect in our life. And if we really interfere in the basic nature of which law, which this nature has made, which universe has made, we will interfere in the coming many things in our life, like child foresting, gender balance, adoption, various other rules we are going to interrupt. And those who say that love need no tags, what are you looking for here? Are you looking for a kind of a validation that you want to take kind of a benefits out of getting a validation of being a husband-wife altogether? Are you looking for something that which can benefit you in the coming future?
Why not?
So if you're thinking that getting married to a male,
Priyanka, why not?
See,
the question is that if this will give them legitimacy for adoption, in case of a medical emergency, they would be accepted as next of kin, in terms of how they move into different departments. There are challenges. We do know that there is a great degree of stigma that is attached. So if there is a legitimacy that is given to this relationship, then why not? Why should we be so resistant to an idea of this nature when 35 countries, correct me here, because I have the data which actually says that there are 35 countries where marriage has been recognized, and 23 have legalized marriages through legislation. Yes,
See,
go ahead.
here I believe in law of nature, forgetting the fact of they can get as per the law of land, but still we should also not forget that nature won't be giving them many rights, because I am someone who believes in nature. I am someone who would never support such a things in my life, because I, as a religious person, would never support male or female marriage. So I think we should also not, it's not giving them equal rights instantly, and they have already received the law of Action 377. They have already given them a rights of calling themselves a partner or a lover, something. If
Akash,
you
will you respond to this?
why are you looking for some kind of
No,
tags in your life?
I find her out of place completely. I found it appalled to even know that she has no idea what we have got and what we have not got. The very factual thing is this, that we have not got equal status. We have only been decriminalized, madam, and that too after ages of struggle. Also, when you call it as a nature or a call for a fact that how a man and a woman should behave, it means that you, as being a woman, is actually stigmatizing women who can't conceive or who do not wish to conceive. There are people who get married and they let their marriage be sustainable, irrespective of the fact that they can conceive a child or not, right? So I don't know how this whole idea of conceiving and plus adding a tag of the being a Hindu. I'm a practicing Hindu. If I just turn my camera, you'll see a Ma Kali sitting next to me as well. But the fact is this, that being Hindu is not that denying the Ardhanareshwar or denying the Vishnu's Mohina Rupa or denying the Ayyappa. So I don't know which Hindu culture are you talking about, because this is not Hindu culture. This is an ideology of...
I am not here talking about any culture. The same-sex marriage would further isolate the marriage from its procreative purpose, I say. I'm not here supporting any kind of... I'm not here talking about a religion or something. Traditionally, the marriage, procreation has been tightly connected to the one another.
No, but the very factual thing is this, that why do we need procreation to be a part of a marriage system? We, as the most populated country in the world, is still worried about being procreated or not. It's appalling. We cannot give health care and education to the basic level. I think
I do have a right to say, if I don't agree with you on something, I have a right to differ on that. The same-sex marriage would further diminish the expectation of the parental commitment.
I agree, and I would not like to get personal through this, but the fact is this, that your right to say cannot be above our right to live, and I hope you get that.
Yes, Deepa Ishwar, come in on this. The government, in fact, the court has given time to other stakeholders, because the viewpoint of state governments and unions will also be sought, and they have to respond in 10 days' time. We know the direction in which it is heading, because if you make these state governments a stakeholder, do states actually have data of how many individuals would want to be registering under same-sex marriage? I mean, if they do not have a data of this nature, then how can they be even stakeholders in an argument of this nature?
Okay, I think, see, so my angle on this whole thing is more of what can I say? It's not theoretical, it's not legal, but it's purely societal, it's purely emotional. So let's just face the truth. So we all respect homosexual community and we are all against homophobia, okay? But having said that, we do have some respectful reservations regarding homosexual marriages. Just face the truth. And how ready are we as a nation for something as big as this? Now, with all respect to my panelist who is from the same community, with all respect, we do have friends from this community. But at the same time, I would like to put across the point that I would not want to see, or I'm not ready as yet to see a future where, we would probably see children from the same sex marriages and becomes so normal. I mean, this has been, marriage is one of the oldest institutions in human history with a male and female.
So this is value judgment.
The status of marriage to homosexuals?
No. My question is, this is value judgment. If an individual or a society is not prepared, then you cannot penalize them.
No, but isn't society important? Now they live in society.
The society can be prepared by the Supreme Court. So when they were decriminalized, at that time also the society wasn't prepared. When when Hindu code came in, at that time also the society wasn't prepared.
Sir, I did not interrupt while you spoke. I would respect
go
this. So all I'm asking is, how can you separate individuals from any community, from any religion, from the society? They live in this society. The children that they adopt should grow up in this society. How can you say that because the society is not ready, we don't care, we need our rights? So it has to go in sync. There should be a harmony. There should be a synchronization.
Absolutely. Kaushik, then in that case, should we prepare the society? It's like a chicken and egg situation. The society will never be prepared, and then the same-sex marriage couples will never get their rights.
I'm just saying
the society was not prepared when women stepped out of their home and fought for right to vote.
Yes, that's right.
Society was not prepared when widow remarriage bill was passed. Society was not prepared when sati was abolished.
No, it is the same.
Not about society being prepared.
Any big change, whenever it happens, there is always resistance from the same society because we love status quo.
I agree, but this is not like women's.
Yes, go ahead.
The difficulty of the panelists, if two other individuals, no one is asking them to be married. What is the difficulty of the panelists if two other individuals want to get married? How are they affected?
How are they affected? Will you respond to this, Deepa? If there are two individuals who want to get married, then how is society impacted by it? And it's about Special Marriage Act. Look, this is not about personal laws. They are not getting into religious codes here. It's about Special Marriage Act, in which there is also intercaste marriages which are registered on that. You can practice your own religion. There has been resistance and all new concepts like love jihad and all that we have seen. But there is also a society which accepts them. Just as Ambedkar, who quit as law minister then, he was not ready to accept the Hindu code. There have been several such instances in the past of remarriage code and other codes in the past. So we have to prepare the society, Deepa. And we have to come across as people who are compassionate.
No, what is happening on the panel right now is trivializing the whole subject. So you're comparing major changes that has happened with something which can be viewed, which has a lot of questions still. So this is, what if you talk about women stepping out to vote, those were all clear, logical and clearly, legal things which should happen. But then what we're talking about here is
so
we have a lot of questions.
Are you saying that, Deepa?
So let me complete, ma'am. You have to please let me complete. What I'm saying is we still have a lot of questions unanswered when it comes to homosexuality. What are the yardsticks for homosexual divorces? What about adoption? What about inheritance? So there are a lot of questions still there. I think we're just going too quick on this. I'm not against this, but I'm saying for the benefit of the future generation, we should take it slow. I believe the parliament should be the right place to debate, and there should be much more education, sensitization on this, and then we should take the next step. I'm not saying we're against this, because I'm not comfortable with this.
Sorry, I cannot take this enough, because you want generations after generations to die down and dusted because you think you and as whole many of you are not ready for it. You being a feminist at heart and at practice, it appalls me that what if these were the same stands taken by patriarchal society when they never allowed women to go out and work, go out to get. It's almost like you are coming back and saying there are men who are just waiting to attack the women, and by saying that you cannot marry so and so because this is not a part of our culture. I wish women also fundamentally correcting that and saying,
for the benefit of the society, for the benefit of your community, for the benefit of the
benefit to decide the benefit of the society. And why are you so worried about
there was a time when homophobia was a problem.
I would not look into this, and I would put this forward. There's a law ministry in place. There's a ministry. There's a central law ministry in place.
Evidences also exist that homosexual people cannot give a good nurture to a kid's life, which is very much clear, I think.
There's no data to back that.
Working on this issue for 23 years. I have seen.
You have just come out as a homophobic person, and I'm sorry, I'll call you out that. You have to understand one thing.
Priyanka.
You cannot
Really?
just
Thank you. So, and I give you no right to talk about like that to me.
No, one moment. No, Priyanka, that has not been backed by any data, because there are 34 countries in which same-sex marriage is allowed. To say that their children are neglected is not an argument that is backed by
marriage
any data.
is also about the individual two people. Marriage is also about,
in fact,
in religious, if you look, marriage is...
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, please, you say.
Okay. I will not say anything.
We are here,
here. Let me tell you, in my 23 years of practice and providing support to the LGBTQ community, till date, I have not come across a single case where two square persons have abused their children for being straight. However, I have come across hundreds of cases where heterosexual parents have abused, humiliated, tortured their children for being gay. What are you talking about?
Exactly my point. We should be sensitized more. We are running too quickly on this
you should not be sensitized. You should be
in a society where children are still
for violating rights of individuals. There is no question of sensitizing you anymore. It is not the responsibility of the society or the queer community to sensitize you. It is your responsibility to be sensitized.
Social
If
and
you
other
do not be
aspects are also
sensitized,
connected with it.
you
Don't you
shall
think
be
so?
legally punished. Please
Sir,
remember that.
sitting on a panel on either side and saying that you should agree will not make the environment or the society ready, sir. The reality is there are still
how will society be ready?
Be a bigot.
How will society be ready then? Shouldn't the Supreme Court show the way? It should show us the road. And then everybody will agree. We will become more tolerant as a society also.
Understand one thing,
Yes,
we're not here sitting for your acceptance. We're here sitting absolutely to tell you that we are here and we will live it. And we will let our rights to be given to us. We are not here for cisgender majoritarian society to tell us that they will change and then we will seek change. The change will happen when people like me push out the envelopes, push the boundaries you set us in. And that is why we are here. We're not here for your considerations to accept us or not. We have accepted ourselves. Our journey has started. It won't be denied by you or many like.
You know, the problem here is that this entire fear that is being generated by likes of Deepa, where they say that this will be a possible reason for a societal unrest. The question is that you have to prepare the society. How do you expect if these conversation, if it is same-sex marriage is allowed in India, it will become a living room conversation. Then the children and the generations after us will be able to accept them.
Yes, but first
they'll become more tolerant. And that's what is needed.
Clarify the hanging questions around the subject. A woman stepping out of her home to vote had no consequences. There were no unanswered questions.
No, men were opposing it then. They always consider. No. There is a problem in that argument at that time. We are looking at a particular time.
And
at that time, the entire society was against women coming out and voting.
Absolutely.
You have to prepare the society and you have to prepare your own children for it.
Maria, let's not forget, right?
Yes.
Right at this time, there's a country called Taliban, which is denying women to be on television as anchor or as panelist. Do we need
that? They are denying women the right to education also, Akash.
Right.
Yes.
So the idea of conservative phobic attitude is no end. And just when we say that we as individuals, the whole idea is for us to grow together.
Yes. Go ahead. Go ahead, Deepa. Priyanka, you wanted to come in. Go ahead.
I would humbly like to remind you. I'd like to humbly remind you. May I?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Go ahead, Priyanka.
Yeah, is this person is comparing our country to the Taliban?
No, he is saying that...
If I've heard right?
No. He is not comparing our country to Taliban. Akash, that's a convenient thing to
Can I
say.
explain her? I'm sorry.
Yes, please.
I'm saying if we
I'm
let
sorry
the
if I missed something.
conservative fear, let sink in us and won't let me, you live and exercise our choices, then we will no less be then. And I'm saying that it's not just about you practicing your choices, it is about me having a choice to practice it or not as well. Your privilege is what you can't understand it is. I as an individual might not want to even get married, but should I not be given the choice? And you have that choice, and you let that ladder of division be as an upper citizen and a lower class citizen? Do we make a fair country like that?
The marriage...
Priyanka, boliye.
So do you think the marriage certificate will only give you the justice, a right of being called a husband and wife? Do you think so? Like you need a certificate or you need a tag of being called someone's husband, someone's wife?
No, this is not about being called husband and wife. I don't know if you had any queer friends who were living by themselves in the times of Corona. You know, they were, the work that we do, the NGOs we associated to, we had no options to hospitalize these kids who were queer because they had no parents and they couldn't even have a spouse and they couldn't even have anybody to be written on a hospital note that so and so person will be on my behalf take my medical decisions. That it is not only about having sex or getting married. It is about having equal rights in terms of financial spaces, economical spaces, social structures, having the right to health care, having a right to job as a spousal as well, having to write a benefit after retirement.
But we also cannot ignore that adoption by a person with the same sex. We also cannot ignore the adoption person with the same sex will expose kids for their experimentation.
What?
We should also not forget this.
I don't know where you're going and how
No, they can get children through surrogacy or adoption or legally. You know, the entire thing is, why create this fear that these children will be socially discriminated? You know, because all this is leading to that argument. First, when the Special Marriage Act came, when inter-religion and inter-caste marriages started taking place, at that time also the children who were born out of these marriages were stigmatized. But the society got more accepting. They realized that they have to be tolerant. Same thing will happen eventually. Caution.
Maria, you land up using a word called love jihad, right? The government or anybody at the law ministry has no data in that space, and they are using that terminology to just bring in fear. And this is again perpetuating one kind of a fear between people.
This is not a fear. I think this is a concern. This is not a fear. I would like to correct you here. This is not a fear. This is a concern.
But let this concern be
for the society, we are concerned for the upcoming generation of our country, and we have a right to differ on something.
Statistical basis.
If something is going against the nature, we do all have a right to differ on that.
Madam, what is nature?
What's wrong if we are speaking about the coming generation of our country?
When we talk about against the order of nature,
men and women are individual personality, and we should not disturb the reproduction system of which God has made. Why are we going against the nature?
If we would have been a nation
not against the nature at all.
And we people do respect you. We people do respect you for every individual thing you have mentioned here. You are saying that you need legal right. We respect that. But what about the coming generation? What are we going to teach them? Are we going to teach them to do the same things which are we planning to do for our lives in the present time?
Of course. Of course.
Or as in society as
I am not here to fight with you to differ on something.
I have just enough time for the final word to Kaushik Gupta. Kaushik Gupta, you know, at least the manner in which it is being debated and the hearing is going on is reflecting a very progressive view. If we are looking at gender fluid argument that is being made, or the argument that nothing is fixed, you know, or frozen, which means that as a society we need to debate some issues which were long stigmatized and stereotyped.
Absolutely. You know, at times what we have seen is at times the society moves forward and the law follows.
Yes.
Like let us say our law relating to the internet use. However, in some other cases, the law progresses and the society subsequently follows. So in this case, we are hoping that the Honorable Supreme Court which is the protector of the Constitution and protector of fundamental rights, will uphold the right of citizens who are equal under Article 14 of the Constitution to exercise their right to marry, which is a life of dignity under Article 21 of the Constitution, both of them being fundamental rights.
Absolutely. It's about fundamental rights, and the Supreme Court is the protector and an institution which safeguards these rights. Akash and Kaushik, all the best for this fight and more power to both of you. Priyanka and Deepa Ishwar, thank you so much for your time. Let me get a piece of breaking news that is coming in now. Apple CEO Tim Cook has just met Prime Minister Narendra Modi. In fact, he has put out a tweet talking about his meeting. He has been in India for the last in fact, 2 days. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has also responded to his tweet, saying that it was an absolute delight for him to meet Tim Cook. Glad to exchange views on diverse topics and highlight the tech power transformations taking place in India. Tim Cook, Apple CEO, said, thank you, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, for the warm welcome. We share your vision of the positive impact technology can make on India's future, from education and developers to manufacturing and the environment. We are committed to growing and investing across the country. So that is Tim Cook and Prime Minister Narendra Modi's meeting, which has happened just a few minutes back, with Tim Cook tweeting and the Prime Minister responding to it. Pallavi, Tim Cook is in India for the next 24 hours. What else is likely to happen?
Of the Apple store in Delhi also tomorrow after a successful opening in Mumbai. And I think the last line of Tim Cook's tweet says it all. He's promised and reassured and indicated there are going to be more investments in India. And I wouldn't see this as a small achievement. The fact that Apple itself is opening its original stores over here is a part of India's growth story. And this is something which the government has also been focusing on. We do want foreign investments, even though we talk about self-reliance and Atmanirbharta. And the important part, I think, over here is the stress on technology. Digital India, the stress on how technology can spur more economic growth, throws up job opportunities. Clearly, that was the focus of both the Prime Minister and Tim Cook's meeting.
All right. Thank you so much. So, Tim Cook, who is the Apple CEO in India, he had an eventful day yesterday in Mumbai when India got its first Apple store. Those massive Apple stores, which will have the Apple iPads, laptops and phones as well. Shifting focus to debate 2 now. As the conflict rages in Sudan, a war of words has erupted ahead of the Karnataka elections. It all started with former Karnataka Chief Minister Siddaramaiah, who hit out at the central government, saying 30 people from Karnataka belonging to the Hakki-Bikki tribe are stranded without food and shelter, adding that the government is yet to initiate action to bring them back. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar hit back at the Congress leader. He tweeted, and I quote him, "Simply appalled at your tweet. There are lives at stake, don't do politics." Since the fighting started on April 14, the Embassy of India has been continuously in touch with Indian nationals. Congress leaders Jairam Ramesh and Shashi Tharoor also jumped into this Twitter battle and called Jaishankar's response appalling. While BJP's Tejasvi Surya also called out the Congress and said the centre does not need rescue mission lessons. The centre has maintained that it is closely monitoring the situation in Sudan, which is a developing situation, while ensuring the safety of its nationals. However, as they await rescue, this is becoming a hot button issue in the pole-bound state of Karnataka, as the relatives of the stranded Kannadigas appeal for aid.
तो मर रहे हैं बच्चे, बाल बच्चे मर रहे हैं। हमको क्या भी करना, मदद कर रहा है, क्या भी मदद कर रहा है हमको। इंडियन कैसे भेज रहा है।
central government should put every effort to see that they come back immediately and do it on a war footing, because there's a lot of tension, a lot of pressure on these families. They're worried. Hope that the central government will step in a much more aggressive manner and get those people back.
So enough, this Congress people, they had made India weak. They had made Indians helpless. What may happen to any Indian anywhere during their rule, they were not in a position to reach out to any person.
And let me go straight to Shivanand and his family who's joining us live from Sudan. शिवानंद जी, आपके साथ कितने लोग हैं और आप लोग किस जगह पर फंसे हुए हैं?
मैडम, यहाँ पे 89 मेंबर्स हम फंसे हुए हैं एक होटल पे, और दूसरे होटल पे 50 लोग हैं, और मीनाबरी करके एक एरिया में वहाँ पे भी 50 लोग हैं। अभी जो आपने बात किया होगा नंदा कुमार, और यहाँ पे अल्पा शहर में भी लोग हैं, अल्पा शहर करके सिटी में भी और भी लोग फंसे हुए हैं वहाँ पे, प्रभु करके, नंदीशा करके वहाँ पे, और सभी जहाँ जहाँ पे फंसे हुए हैं पूरा यहाँ सिटी से बाहर है। लेकिन हम जो है यहाँ पे कैपिटल सिटी में 400-500 लोग तो यहाँ पे मौजूद है, यहाँ पे सिटी के अंदर। होटल में है अभी 89 पीपल्स है।
बाबूजी खाना नहीं बिजली। मैडम
जी बोलिए।
खाना भी नहीं, सुबह से खाना नहीं, पानी नहीं लगा है, खाना नहीं, 3 दिन खाना खाओगा, 3 दिन होगा, 3 दिन खा कर चलेगा, पानी नहीं, पीने को पानी नहीं है।
खाना नहीं, पीने को पानी नहीं। आपने एम्बेसी से कुछ सुना है? उन्होंने कुछ बोला है?
मैडम, इंडियन एम्बेसी तो कुछ बात ही नहीं कर रहा है मैडम। तो उन्होंने बस एक व्हाट्सएप पे ग्रुप बनाया है, 3 ग्रुप बनाया हुआ है, उसमें मैसेज करते हैं बस। मैसेज किया है, लेकिन मैसेज और जो पार्टिसिपेट है वहाँ ग्रुप में कोई मैसेज नहीं कर सकता है। और हम उसमें नंबर दे रहे हैं, नंबर कांटेक्ट करके बात कर रहे हैं मैडम। 2-3 बार बात किया है, उन लोग कहते हैं बस आप रूम में रहिए, बाहर मत निकलिए।
सो आपका कहना है कि एम्बेसी ने कांटेक्ट किया है लेकिन कोई हेल्प नहीं आया है?
मैडम 4-5 दिन हो गया खाना खा के।
पेशेंट है मैडम, ये शुगर पेशेंट, डायबिटीज के पेशेंट है, टैबलेट नहीं है इनके पास,
कुछ नहीं है हमारे पास। अस्पताल जाने का पैसा नहीं है, अस्पताल भी बंद है, पूरा बंद।
बीपी शुगर है हमको।
दुकान में चावल लेना था, दुकानें भी बंद है, और बाहर जाने से सब गोली मार रहा है और डर के ऊपर ही पड़ा है।
तो आपको एम्बेसी क्या कह रही है? कब तक आप लोग को निकाल पाएंगे वो लोग?
एम्बेसी वाले कोई कांटेक्ट नहीं कर रहे हैं मैडम, बस मैसेज करते हैं, मैसेज पे कांटेक्ट कर रहे हैं। लेकिन हमारा भी जो क्या हुआ है, हमें अभी आके यहाँ पे 3 मंथ हुआ है मैडम। इतना सिटी में उतना परिचय नहीं है यहाँ पे, एम्बेसी भी एक बार भी कांटेक्ट नहीं किया था हमने। और यहाँ पे क्या हुआ, हमारा जो वीजा के लिए 1 ईयर वीजा के लिए अप्लाई कर दिया था, हमारा पासपोर्ट 20-25 लोगों का पासपोर्ट वहीं पे है मैडम, एम्बेसी इमिग्रेशन ऑफिस में है मैडम, यहाँ का सुडानी इमिग्रेशन ऑफिस में ही है।
कर्नाटका की कांग्रेस के पूर्व मुख्यमंत्री हैं सिद्धरामैया जी, उन्होंने ये इशू रेस किया है और उसके बाद पॉलिटिक्स शुरू हो गई है। आपने इसके बारे में कभी कुछ सुना है अभी तक?
नहीं मैडम, हम तो अभी यहाँ के जो सिचुएशन को ही रिकवर नहीं कर रहे हैं, तो हमने न्यूज देखना भी छोड़ दिया है मैडम। यहाँ पे करंट नहीं है, बिजली नहीं है, और पानी की व्यवस्था नहीं है, सुविधा नहीं है। हमें अभी जो चार्जिंग करके आया हूँ मैं, अभी 15% चार्जिंग है मैडम मेरे फोन में भी। अभी खत्म हो गया तो किससे कांटेक्ट करना, क्या कैसे करना, कुछ आइडिया ही नहीं आ रहा है मैडम। नीचे नहीं जा रहे हैं हम।
शिवान जी, मैं होप करती हूँ कि जल्दी से जल्दी आपको वहाँ से बाहर निकाल करके आप अपने घर वापस आ जाएं। थैंक यू सो मच फॉर योर टाइम। Let me bring in my guests. GS Prashant is Karnataka BJP spokesperson. Dhruv Jati is Karnataka Congress spokesperson. We also have TR Prasad Gowda, JDS leader. GS Prashant, the battle is heating up in Karnataka, and can everything be seen as pure politics?
Maria, look what's happening here. People are stranded, and Siddaramaiah, DK Shivakumar and others are trying to politicize the issue here, because we must remember, even during the Russia-Ukraine war, India was one country which spoke to the warring countries, ensured that all the Indian children who were struck in Ukraine during the war crisis with Russia were brought back. So therefore, as our External Affairs Minister has rightly put it across, there is no need to politicize this issue. We need to look at it from a human angle. We have to ensure that justice is delivered to them, and the government will do all that it takes to get it back.
I'm in complete agreement with you when you say this is a human issue. Then what is wrong in a public representative, a former chief minister, sending a tweet or an SOS to the External Affairs Minister? Why should it leave the External Affairs Minister fuming and then he responding like I am appalled and everything? What is so appalling about his tweet?
Maria, look at the intent behind an action you have to be looked into.
Okay.
Whenever Siddaramaiah has to do this, we knew that what was happening. So keeping the elections in mind and trying to politicize a issue which had to be looked at with humanity, Congress is trying to instill fear in the minds of people and divide people based on this.
Here is External Affairs Minister saying clearly that he has been in touch with the Indian embassy in Sudan. They are in turn in touch with all these people, Mr. Dhruvji, and it has been going on for the last 1 week. Why did Siddaramaiah raise it today? Shouldn't it be seen, isn't the BJP right in saying that there is a larger political game plan here at play?
Maria, let me read out Siddaramaiahji's tweet to you, because I don't think the BJP has the capability of comprehending such a simple tweet. It is reported that 31 people from Karnataka belonging to Hakki-Pikki tribe are stranded in Sudan, which is troubled by civil war. All he did after that was urge the government to immediately open diplomatic relations with international agencies to bring back the Hakki-Pikki tribe. If it wasn't for Siddaramaiahji initiating this tweet, do you think we would have even been having this discussion? Do you think that the Indians stuck in Sudan would have been given a voice on your channel to speak about it? Did Siddaramaiah politicize it? Clearly no. He's asked just for the government to intervene with it. But the Bharatiya Janata Party finds that appalling. How is that appalling? And before I say anything, I think it's important that we recognize...
The question is, yes, I mean, the choice of words may have been different if it was just an SOS, but because it is a poll-bound state, and we realize that just about every political party is not leaving any stone unturned, then a human issue, a human interest issue becomes a political issue.
Not really. It's a human interest issue. We have Kannadigas who are stuck over there at this point of time. And as a former chief minister and as somebody who belongs to Mysore, in which the Hakki-Pikki tribe are in large numbers, he has every right to raise it. Why doesn't he have a right to raise it?
Okay.
It is a human issue, and the Congress party clearly sympathizes with it. And it's clearly seen that the Bharatiya Janata Party, whether it was the Vande Bharat mission, etc., they all went to commercialize it, bring back Indians. There was a PM Cares fund that was set up, zero transparency about it. What happened to the Indian Community Welfare Fund that was set up? Nobody has any idea about where the funds are being used.
Prasad Gowda, who is politicizing this entire issue? Mr. Gowda? Yes, if you can hear me. Can you hear me, sir? Okay, can you hear me, Mr. Gowda?
Yes, madam. Yes.
Who is politicizing this entire evacuation issue, according to you and your party?
I didn't. There was a problem with audio. Can you please repeat the question?
Yes, I want to know for the JDS who is politicizing this entire evacuation issue of Kannadigas who are stuck in Sudan.
See, as a matter of fact, it is a first priority should be given to the people who stuck there, and let them. We wish they should be evacuated very safely. Kannadigas should be safely evacuated from the place, and they should be brought to the country, our motherland, safely. The politicization is a secondary issue, but our priority is the safety of the people. And we wish, when it comes to the national issue...
So then in that case, are you of the opinion that Mr. Siddaramaiah's tweet was politicizing this issue?
No, that is their point of view. Our point of view is let the country should take care of our people first.
Yes.
So
will you be sending a similar SOS to External Affairs Minister then? Will Mr. Kumaraswamy or Mr. Deve Gowda or any of the party leaders be seeking help the manner in which Mr. Siddaramaiah did?
Madam, I told you initially, it is their point of view. Our point of view is different. Our point of view is whatever happened in Sudan. It is nobody expected it. It has happened. Our priority is let government intervene and take care of our people first, and safety of our people is most important. Let they have to they need to be evacuated very safely. Then we will talk about politics. Let's not mix the safety of our people with the politics. Their point of view is different. Our point of view is different.
Okay, so the point of view is essentially that Mr. Siddaramaiah, according to you, is doing politics. Dhruv Jati?
No, not at all. All Siddaramaiah ji spoke about was requesting them to act according to the duty of care. All he spoke about was requesting the ministers of external affairs to act upon bringing these Indians back. How is that political in any way? It's not political. It's just a human request. What's wrong in a request? I think the BJP
But Dhruv, the question is also that we
time.
have seen how the government of India carried out that entire operation for evacuation of all the Indians who were stuck when the war began in Ukraine. We saw how proactive the government was. It sent ministers to ensure that the Indian students are evacuated. So, you know, in a way, you're questioning the sincerity of a government which keeps its own citizens' safety on top priority.
Maria, firstly, I think again we're interpreting it wrong. All Siddaramaiah ji spoke about was a tribe that was in Sudan and about requesting the government to open diplomatic discussions with international agencies. All right. A. Second, you're speaking about a government that charged and made, you know, the evacuation process a whole commercial sort of a agenda for those during COVID. How do you expect us to, you know, acknowledge such a thing? You speak about a government like that was under Dr. Manmohan Singh ji, not too far away from Sudan, an Operation Sukoon, which took place in Libya, where we not only evacuated Indians, but also Lankans and Nepalese, close to about 11,000 people that were stranded at that point of time. That's what we need to remember at this point of time. And I don't think there's anything that's political about this. It's just BJP's reaction about how they're losing Karnataka at this point of time and how this double engine is nothing but close to a propeller plane that has no pilot at this point of time, and the High Command has no idea on who they want to, you know, drive the entire state with.
All right. T.R. Prasad Gowda, Dhruv Jati and G.S. Prashant, thank you so much for your time. We are slipping into a short break. Up next, it has been 2 years since the Taliban's return to power in Afghanistan, but the common man and especially women continue to live in terror as their rights and liberty are systematically stripped away. A special report when we return. Stay with us.
It's almost like a little bone that will get thrown. But you know, the thing is, as a citizen of India, as a proud citizen of India, as a tax-paying citizen of India, I think we're all at a point now where we're now demanding these equal rights, right? And it's very important. You know, when I was hearing that argument, the fact that they talked about the fact that this was just an urban elite phenomena, I think my eyes rolled so hard because LGBTQ, the T, the transgenders, that community talks so openly and vocally about the fact that they don't get jobs, that they have to become sex workers or that they become beggars. So, you know, when I was hearing about this whole urban elite phenomena, it just feels like a construct where they very conveniently want to look at one side making the argument. Sure, there could be extremely poor people who are gay, but they're probably not coming to the forefront because they don't have livelihoods, they don't have money at the moment. At the same time, the other counter argument is, even if it is an urban elite phenomena, which it is not, so what? Because equality and rights have never depended on your social and monetary status. Because by the same logic, if these were poor people, would you then have said, oh, they're only poor, we don't need to listen to them? So either ways, that argument held no water for me, because when you're saying basically this is just urban elite or that they're not making money, it makes no sense. The second part, which I thought was very deeply questionable when they talked about the fact that India is not ready, you know, popularity, the popular vote doesn't often mean the thing is right. Popularity doesn't always mean it's the path of righteousness. Sati was a popular concept, but we had to get done with it. There was a point where everyone thought child labor was just fine. Everyone thought child marriage was just fine. But these amendments and these laws were changed because we had to move with times. Just because today a popular majority thinks that, you know, LGBTQIA is just okay. it's not cool. When you talked about the fact that these laws will also make sure that now, even when I find a boyfriend, first of all, finding a boyfriend and a husband is still going to be a task. But even when I do find that person, do something as simple as just going to a club. It says only couples entry allowed. If I go with my boyfriend, I'm not allowed to enter a club because you need a girl. So, when they talked about the fact that so much will need to be changed, my response to that is please do it, because as my job as a citizen is to uphold the constitution and to live by the law. And the constitutional job is to make sure that they give me equal rights.
So, Shashank Shekhar Jha, again, the fundamental point here is about you cannot discriminate against a class of citizens, no matter what the parameter is. And in this case, it's about sexual orientation. That has been clearly said in the right to privacy, the Aadhaar judgment, that you cannot that right to privacy is a fundamental right, and that sexual orientation is encompassed in the right to privacy. So you're basically discriminating against an entire class of citizens against Article 14 and 15 simply because of their sexual orientation.
Namaste to everyone on the panel. I guess, no, we are taking it in a wrong way. See, Navtej judgment of Supreme Court and Puttu Swami judgment of Supreme Court and then Aadhaar card judgment of Supreme Court has clearly stated that Article 14, 19, 21 is for the individual's rights and it should not be disregarded. So for that point, I am saying that I am just saying that any type of phobia should be boycotted or avoided, and for that point here is homophobia we are talking about. Now I am completely in favor of that, but then the second point is on the basis of those aspects and on the basis of individual rights which you have already got, can you now claim or start claiming that you should also get the societal rights, or for that point all the institutions which are based on heterosexual community should also be granted or extended to homosexuals?
No, but once again, society, when you say societal rights, once again, it's not society that is giving me the rights to property in case a couple splits, or it is not society that's giving me right to adoption in case a heterosexual couple wants to adopt a child. It's the law. It's not society.
No. So here is the problem. See, if you go through the history of marriage starts in Hinduism, where a child asks whether whether his parents can get married or not. The history I am talking about. So when you go through that history, you need to understand that the most important chapter or aspect in the adoption is for the child. So how can now two people claim that no, the child who is not able to speak in front of you, we are able to, or we are capable enough to
But heterosexual couples do that all the time, who want to adopt are doing that all the time. What sort of argument is that? Anyway, let me ask. Once again, let me ask Harish Iyer.
And I'll tell you.
One second.
Just give me.
Harish Iyer. Again, I keep coming back to the right to equality and to treat everyone as equal.
He was tortured by the Taliban, he says, just for reporting the truth. I was thinking of death every moment. I thought this is the last day of my life, he says. Last December, 30 Taliban fighters stormed journalist Zabullah Nouri's home in the Afghan city of Talukan. The men beat him over and over with the butt of their rifles, then arrested him, allegedly for publishing anti-Taliban propaganda. I told them I'm a journalist. I report the truth, whether that's against the Taliban or anyone else. But they wouldn't stop, he says. They said, call your mother so she can hear you scream. As the Taliban seized control in the summer of 2021, thousands of terrified families flocked to the Kabul airport, desperate to escape what they knew of the group's barbaric rule. But the Taliban vowed reform, pledging to be more progressive than their last time in power. Instead, the group quickly fell back on its old playbook: rule by fear, repress without mercy. The group ordered judges to fully impose its extremist interpretation of Islamic law. That includes public executions, floggings, and amputations. And in December, it carried out the first known public execution. An alleged murderer was shot 3 times in a public square. And over the course of just 2 months, the Taliban carried out floggings against more than 180 men, women, and children, according to the UN. Like this one, this secretly recorded video shows a Taliban militant flogging a man in a football stadium. Other accused criminals await their punishment with onlookers in the stands. And any perceived dissent against their rule is met with brutality. Zafri agreed to speak to CNN on condition of anonymity. He was imprisoned by the group for allegedly joining an anti-Taliban military alliance, a charge he denies. They shoved a water pipe down my throat. They tied a bag around my head, he says. They sat on my belly and ordered me to confess that I'm a member of the resistance forces. After 4 months of torture in detention, Zafri was released. He now lives in hiding. His repeated attempts to flee Afghanistan have failed. Countless Afghans have attempted the same, risking their lives to find safety away from their brutalized homeland, a perilous journey that has claimed many lives. Like that of Afghan female journalist Turpakai Amarkhal. She was among more than 60 migrants who drowned at sea when their ship sank off the coast of Italy. Fortunately, Nouri has made it out alive with his family after his release. Now a refugee in Pakistan, he still lives in fear. I'm not safe in Pakistan, he says. Anything can happen here. Anything. But those left behind remain hopeful that the international community will hear their pleas, even if raising their voice means risking their lives.
Mr. Pilot and yourself are left with no other option but to resort to measures like this.
If there is corruption in this, Riju Datta, the Trinamool Congress should go after anybody who's involved in corruption in this.
The way it is being seen, somebody from the minority community getting an award. The BJP says that it has nothing to do with religion here. It is about the individual and his recognition.
There are already attacks coming in that these are arbitrary and very overpowering powers.
Sorry to say this, but they are in a sense a lazy, uninformed response to what is very carefully designed approach to address the risks of misinformation.